Top of the evening to you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of State of the State. I am Sunday Kolawole. Today, our conversation will be centering on the mainstay of every thriving economy, and that is agriculture. Before the oil boom, agriculture used to be the mainstay of Nigerian economy, and of course, with the current situation, the country seems to be realizing the very much importance that's supposed to be placed on agricultural development. That is not just about the national government, but also at the state level. In Ondo State, agriculture also seems to be something that's gaining the attention of the current administration. And so our conversation today will be centering on his agenda and its impact on the agricultural sector. Joining me in the conversation is the Honorary Commissioner for Agriculture and Forestry, Honorable Leia Akinola. Thank you so much for joining me on State of the State.
Yeah, we are welcome, so thank you.
All right, let's start the conversation this way. I understand that you came into the ministry and then you met certain things on ground. What are the vision that you have for the ministry to be a ministry so properly called, having impact on the life of the people in terms of food sufficiency and security?
Yeah, thank you so much. Once again, I want to appreciate you for having me on this program. Of course, you have given us a platform to be able to interact and discuss what we have in the ministry with our people at home. So I want to also appreciate our viewers at home. When I came on board, of course, I had to take stock. So I have to take stock of what is on ground and what we have and where we can start from. Of course, like Mr. Governor, before appointing me to be the Commissioner for Agric, had been telling the state about his programs for agriculture. Even when I had not become the Commissioner, he met with some people, we call them NASDA, who are willing to come and clear about 10,000 hectares of land and give to our youth in clusters to be able to encourage the youth in agriculture towards food sustainability and employment generation. So that effort I met on ground, and we are still working on that. So it's only that there is one exercise we need to do so that we can have a focus on where we give to.
What's that exercise?
That exercise in our forest reserve, we have to do a kind of a mapping to know the existing farmers in the forest reserve, and Mr. Governor himself had also spoken to the chairman of the local government chairman, which I also discussed with the Hagon chairman. I think about 3 or 4 days ago when we met in Abuja, so we went for a program. So and I also told him that they should be preparing at least 500 hectares of land for us in each of these local government, so that the community efforts meet with the government effort to make sure that our youth are involved in agriculture.
What is the interest of the Ondo State government in this forestry, especially the forestry farming? Because it seems that attention is really being focused on this mapping, registration, and the levy issue. In fact, in some places you hear the Ondo State government is collecting as high as 250,000 naira from each farmer. Some say it's even 400,000 naira. Thank God you are here to shed light on this. Why exactly is the attention of Ondo State government on this forest? Is that the only place where we can find land for agriculture?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Cocoa is an important crop to Nigeria, not just Ondo State. And Ondo State happens to be the first state that the highest producing state when it comes to cocoa. 40% of the cocoa in Nigeria is being produced from Ondo State. So, though I'm not going to be blaming our farmers, they are they move like water. You know, when the water, no matter how you block water, it always finds its way around to make sure the current continues. So the free areas where they have this, their cocoa farms, no more producing at IG, they had to enter the forest. Despite the fact the existing laws, you know, they had been entering the forest. I interfaced with one of these farmers that told me he had entered the forest since 1988, not even before the advention of this. I mean, coming on board of this administration, and we now have EUDR, European Union. Of course, I just left a meeting with the Ondo State Cocoa Council. Is EUDR, every of our cocoa we produce is not our culture to eat chocolate. We export out to the European Union, and the European Union, who are now buying the cocoa, are now telling us any cocoa from the forest is not going to be bought, except we take some steps. And this had been this they call it European Union Deforestation Free Regulation, EUDR. And when I came on board, I met it. I discussed with Mr. Governor. Of course, there had been effort before now, but not conscientized and ready, willing and able effort. So when I came on board, I told Mr. Governor, of course, we have our cocoa farmers in the forest. And if we don't take this step, they might not be able to sell their cocoa in the European market come December 30th of this year. That means as from January 1st, no cocoa will be bought from the forest reserve. So what do we do? Of course, this is of a great importance and concern to the federal government. So federal government had to invite even the governors of cocoa producing states. So eventually I happened to be the one that represented Mr. Governor at the villa. So we discussed what do we do. So with the Minister of Agriculture and expert in climate change and some other things, expert in space technology and the rest. And we came up with a policy, agroforestry. These people, of course, we want to, we have discussed a lot of alternative markets. Of course, America, do they eat chocolate like the Europe? I don't think so. Then Asia don't take cocoa, they don't take chocolate, they take herbal teas. So this is cultural, and we in Nigeria too, do we actually, I wouldn't know if you have taken beverage today, but at least that percentage of beverage and the chocolate, have you consumed chocolate in the next, maybe in the last 5 days or 7 days? Maybe to me I had not, because it's not part of the culture. So this European Union are saying no. Further deforestation of our forest is costing them as at climate change. You understand? A lot of arbitrary rainfall, excessive sunshine, you know, it's no, and it is as a result of this depletion of ozone layers. So trees, of course, you know, I happen to be the Commissioner of Agriculture and Forestry, so I have to balance the two. Of course, when you wake up in the morning, in one of the workshops we went to, they say when you wake up in the morning, by the time you embrace your partner, I think the first thing you need to go and embrace is a tree, which is true. The way God has created the ecosystem, what we breathe in, which is carbon dioxide, hazardous to us, is what the tree takes to produce what we also want. That is why in the 8 hours of the day when you are under the tree, you get fresh oxygen. So there is this way nitrogen, bacteria, all these what God has created in the ecosystem to sustain.
So that
But
informs the concentration of Ondo State government in agroforestry.
yeah, so we have to do.
So how much exactly are you taking from farmers that are really operating in the
Yeah,
forests?
there are two things.
Okay.
So let me explain before we go to that price. The issue of agroforestry is there. Then the issue of traceability. Traceability. What do I mean by traceability? The consumer of this cocoa bean said they want to know the person that is producing the cocoa. So they want to be able to say, okay, this is your farm, this is what you do, the type of chemical you use, are you actually doing good agricultural practices? So what they are consuming, they want to know where it is being produced. So every farmer, every cocoa farmer, either you are in the free area that is not a forest reserve, or you are in the forest reserve, has to be mapped. So we need to map this. It's technological based. So we have to map, we have to create dashboard in the Ministry of Agric, where we have to get the service of consultants that are well knowledgeable on this mapping. So we have to employ all these people. Then we take them to the farm, they map, we get the data. Then we have to now go back with the existing law of Ondo State back to the House of Assembly, because according to the law of Ondo State, if you enter the forest, we have 2 years imprisonment, 5 or 7 years, depending on what you have done in the forest. So the law is saying you are a criminal, but Ondo State government is saying no, we want to recognize you. But before we go back to the House of Assembly, we don't just want to declassify, or okay, I don't want to even use the word declassify. We don't just want to arbitrarily say, okay, this is where you are. So we want to know where you are. We want to know where there are cocoa farmers and other farmers. As we are doing this, we are as well doing those that are into arable crops, so that we actually want to know the number of people that are farming in the forest reserve. So we have designed a program. We have also come up with a policy in which we are going to divide the forest into 3 zones. We have the core zone. This core zone is no-go area. Of course, we cannot just deforest like that. So even if the core zone had been depleted, what do I mean? No trees any longer. We want to plant trees, and when we are planting the trees, we are telling our people, your farming activity must not occur in this portion of the forest. Okay. Then we are going to have sustainability use zone. Under this sustainability use zone, of course, you can do everything that is legal. As long as you plant your arable, we are going to give you trees. We are going to come up with nursery of these trees. We give you tree as a farmer, we recognize you. Then it is your responsibility to make sure as your crops are surviving on that land, then the trees must also survive. So that is agroforestry.
So what brought about, because of our time, what brought about the issue of collecting money from farmers?
Yeah, we have to collect money from the farmers, most especially because it is not in the budget of Ondo State 2025, and it's an expensive exercise. If we want to make sure that every cocoa bean is sold in the European Union market at premium price, then we have to, we just have to take that step.
And that exercise couldn't have waited. It couldn't have been delayed till next year when the budget to capture it.
It's an expensive exercise.
Okay, government doesn't want to spend on that.
Not even that government doesn't want to spend on that.
Okay.
It's an expensive exercise, and government had looked at it. Of course, before now, we used to collect 15,000 for data capturing and 20,000 for land use. That had been suspended for this year and for next year too. We are not collecting any money from it.
So no other money will be collected from farmers
for this year, no. But we are collecting this money together because we have to do this in bulk. we have to pay in bulk. The forest reserve map that is in the satellite now, Ondo State Forest Reserve map that is in the satellite, we have to delete it, we have to upgrade, and we have to upload back to the satellite. And we don't have access to the satellite. We are paying for this service. Of course, we have an agency of the federal government, and they have their own business aspect of it. Of course, by next week, one of the admin secretary of Cocoa Revolution is going to witness where the federal government and NASDAQ will be signing an MOU. You understand? So all this costs money.
Well, Honourable Commissioner,
and the mapping too costs money.
So. All right, your point is well made. So, apart from the issue of this agroforestry and the issue of mapping, I like to know, these are days when households are complaining about the soaring prices of food, and it's also a call for concern among many people. A time there was, you buy a bag of rice for as low as 8,000 naira, 10,000 naira. Now, well, we say the price is coming down to 60-something thousand or something thousand naira. So, producing these things, maize farm, yam farm, cassava farm, and all of those other plantations, a time there was when government also went into these ventures. Well, I do not know why it's now being said that government has no business in doing business. I don't know if your administration still feels that that should hold water. But I want to ask you, where is the farm of the Ondo State Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry? Or you don't think that the government should also lead by example in promoting food security and sufficiency?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Of course, we have demonstration farms. We have farms where we produce and multiply cassava stems, varieties of seeds and seedlings that can meet up the food production. Of course, next week, Monday, by the special grace of God, I'm going to be meeting a professor in FUTA, in which we are going to collaborate together in seed production. Of course, we want to come up with a program for our youth. We want to give them seed, but we need to, if you fail to plan, then we are planning to fail. So it's part of this planning that I'm meeting a professor so that we're in FUTA, so that we can come up together and I think, let me just put it at that, you understand? Then we have farm, you understand? We have farm.
Where is the farm?
Of course, we have land in, of course, I have visited.
I'm not asking if you have land. Do you have farm? What are you producing in those farms?
State Ministry of Agri. Of course, we have demonstration farm. If you come to our compound, you see some farms, but it's not in commercial quantity. We are just doing this as demonstration farms. We have fish farm, demonstration farms, where we train those who are willing to go into commercial production, you understand, or to for sustainability of their life, of their livelihood. But we are still going there. Your slogan is that government has no business in doing business. Of course, this require Yoruba will say incoming is different from inconwa. You understand? When you say this belongs to the state, what is the culture? It's like when I was discussing with Mr. Governor recently, who has graciously allowed us. Of course, he was concerned about what about the tractors that we have been buying before now. He made a statement, of course. I was worried myself, but I just have to tell Mr. Governor that, sir, if we want to involve our youth in agriculture, we cannot give them hoes and cutlass. We still have to procure tractors. And thank God graciously he accepted that. But he was concerned. It's a manager of resources. You understand? Mr. Governor will not allocate the resources to where that resources will go into the drain. No. That is why some people will say, no, he doesn't do that. If he want to approve for you, you have to convince him that there is value for the money, and it's not going to just go into the drain. You are going to make sure the result is going to surpass even the input that you have put into it. So what am I trying to say? We are working around the clock. Our getting back to our farm settlements, of course, getting land. So once we get this land available in the free area with the communities, we have to plan, because it requires a lot of planning. Land clearing is more expensive around the southwest than in the north.
Okay.
So we have to bulldoze, but in the north they don't need to bulldoze. They can just acquire a tractor and they take it to their farm. So we have to, it's more expensive in this area. We have to bulldoze then before we plow and also with tractors. So what am I trying to say? We are planning assiduously.
When will these plans materialize?
Very soon.
How soon?
Very soon. Of course, by next year you will begin to see results. But this exercise we are doing in the forest reserve, of course, is taking our time. We want to factor. Of course, I was telling the Cocoa Ondo State Cocoa Council that they should help me appeal to the exporters who had mapped farmers in the free area. We need their data. If you don't have data, how do you plan? Of course, Mr. Governor has told us Ondo State produce now, and the last production we did, we have about 80,000 metric tons from Ondo State. But we want to increase that in the next 4 or 5 years by 3. Then how do we do the planning if we don't have the correct data?
All right. Now let's talk farmer support, Honorable Commissioner. I understand that most times government would say we're supporting farmers with this, we're supporting farmers with that, but there are also complaints in certain quarters that they support seedlings, fertilizers, and so on only get to farmers who know somebody. What is the mechanism you're putting in place to ensure that it's not a man-no-man thing when it comes to farmer support initiatives?
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, we'll call it political farmer. Maybe you have not heard that language before. When I came, of course, before I came, of course, I knew it had been happening, but I never. Of course, I've been, even before I became the commissioner, I've been very close to Mr. Governor, and I know he's not a man that, he's not a partial person, you understand? Under this administration, if you are not a registered farmer, if you are not identified farmer, of course, that is one of the reasons we want to get the data of each farmer. Of course, even if you are in the free area, we want to know where you farm. We want to go and map your farm before we allocate anything to you. Of course, there are, like I told you, we want to produce seeds. Seed that compliance with the environment. So sustainable seeds now that we want to give to the farmers. So we need to go into production of this as soon as possible. But by the time we are doing this and we want to distribute, we are not going to be distributing to those that are not practicing farming.
What would you do if you discover that there are officers, officials in your ministry who serve as middlemen or who divert inputs?
It depends on the system. I don't want to believe the system will allow that.
Okay.
For example, before now, farmers in the forests, before now, none of them had ever honed up to getting like 5 hectares, 10 hectares. They will say I have 10 rope, I have 5 rope. But the technology we have brought now, which is there is an app that we use to map. Once we map, we start from the beginning of your farm, then where the starting point we end there, then the polygon closes itself, then it flashes to the enumerator, then it's submitted directly to us in the office. So we have created the dashboard. So there is no way to hide. You understand? So it depends on the system. So if we don't identify you, we have not profiled you, we don't know what you are doing, then I don't believe you are part of us in the state. So you might not be able to benefit anything. So that is the essence of this planning. that we are doing.
All right, let's also look at the issue of youth involvement in agriculture. Most times people feel that agriculture is not as high yielding as other ventures. In fact, some of them see it as outdated. Mechanizing farming or agriculture generally is something that's now the in thing all over the world where agriculture is practiced. How well is Ondo State government going towards this direction to ensure that agriculture is also attractive to young people?
Yeah, like I said before, you know, we, we, we have gone into this discussion with Mr. Governor. So, though if we are not going to be acquiring bulldozers, but at least we want to acquire tractors, enough tractors that can go around uh, the senatorial
Available
districts,
to people
available to the farmers.
at
So,
neck-breaking costs or at affordable costs? Because that's
yeah,
another thing that
of
people
course,
talk about.
we are going to acquire, design a system whereby, of course, the last administration acquired about 25 tractors. We don't see any one of them again. The only one that is existing that we know is this. Though Mr. Governor has asked for a report on it, and which I am putting forward very soon.
Beyond the report, are you tracking to know the whereabouts of the
Yeah,
tractors?
yes, it's part of the we are tracking to know where they are now. I learned some were also sold to farmers in the states. Some were given to farmers in on Naya purchase. You know, well, I don't want to. Though we are working, we had called for the report and we are working on the report. You understand? But this one, when acquired, our focus is to encourage the youth to form them into clusters in each of these local government. Then we get the land, because the most expensive aspect of it is the land preparation. Once they get the land prepared and they form the clusters, of course it's not going to be business as usual.
All right, let's talk about attracting investors in the agricultural sector. I do understand that there's something we call public-private partnership in almost all sectors of a state economy. How well is the current administration working on that? A time there was when we heard about powdered egg factory. In fact, there's also the chocolate factory that we also heard about in Idari Axis, and all of these. What exactly is going on with them? What is this administration going to do to attract investors who will bring practical things to the table that will impact positively on food sufficiency in Ondo State?
Yeah, thank you so much. By the special grace of Almighty God, before the end of this administration, of course, the Ondo State people are going to graciously ask Mr. Governor to come and rule them again. Of course, by next week, there are some investors. A particular investor had written the moribund Akunu Ranch in Auga Akoko is coming back to life very soon. So the investors are coming. They are going to be meeting with Mr. Governor on Tuesday by the special grace of God. They are not just coming. It is not just investor in paper or investor in court. Before we even entertain them, we ask them, though they according to their letter, they said they want to come and invest $600 million on dairy and meat fattening. Of course, they demanded that we give them 40,000 hectares of land, and we say, okay, graciously, we have 8,000 under that Baba Awolowo Akunu Ranch at Bimoribon. We have visited the place from the ministry. We've taken coordinates from the place we sent to them in America before they decided to say, okay, let's come and see Mr. Governor. Then we are asking them to give us their proof of fund. So once we have their proof of fund in the ministry and they submit to Mr. Governor, and we are able to know, to be sure that the money is available, then Ondipa, we hand it over to Ondipa. So it's going to be PPP, whatever MOU, but I've also met with the community people, the people in the community leader, the kings. Of course, the feed production that they want to give to their cows or whichever is not, we are not just to push them away, we are not going to push the youth in that environment away. We are also saying, okay, we give you 8,000 hectares of land, but this is what you do to our people. When you are, you can continue with your fattening, you can continue with your dairy or wherever, but our people will continue to farm on this place and be giving you feed. So you buy, ready-made. So we form them into cluster. If it is 10,000, I mean, if it is 2,000, 3,000 hectares, then we can give to this youth in maybe 10 hectares. They provide the seedlings for them and they plant. So they have a 3-year developmental plan on how to spend this money. So they are meeting with Mr. Governor very soon. And we have also initiated, there is a hut in this egg factory you are talking about, because I am personally interested and I've been discussing this with Mr. Governor, that happens to according to the data I get, is about the second largest in Africa, if not or West Africa. Of course, myself, my target is that if that egg factory, powder factory is operational, at least it's going to generate not less than 20,000 jobs, directly or indirectly. And in fact, it's part of what we are discussing. So I've called Ondi Part 2. I've spoken with them because there is an existing MOU with a company before. So at least if the company, I learned the state government has spent more, and they continue to ask for more and more and more and more. So that is why that project just stopped.
So what's the plan of the current administration?
To
also continue spending more and more?
No.
So what do you want to do?
I've told you before, Mr. Governor is not going to spend on what is going to
What's the strategy to make this work?
Of course,
and not also become moribund?
Very soon, like I have told you, I've discussed with the people in Nondipa who knows this investor. So if need be, we give him some times. If it's not forthcoming, of course we have investors that are ready to come and partner with us in Ondo State. So
all right,
they know we are serious-minded. We have a serious-minded governor who is business-oriented, who want to turn Ondo State from.
How serious-minded are his lieutenants if he is serious-minded?
This is not everybody. In fact, I am gracious and I am happy to be among the cabinet of Mr. Governor. Every of us in our various ministry have been working around the clock to make sure we, of course, when you have a governor that will sit down, listen to investors, listen to everybody, and I will work late night, 2 a.m. sometimes, then who are you to be lazy as a cabinet member of Mr. Governor?
Well, I understand that some youths are also currently undergoing trading in Ogun State, if my findings is correct. I'd like to know the details of this trading and what exactly spawned it.
Yeah, it's one of the Mr. President said we should make agricultural CSC. So though we have trained some, and we are also still continue to train in soilless farming. Though it's very expensive and they produce special products that needed to be, we have to get market for it. Market is the most important thing. Of course, I was in Abuja. I met with this, there is this Nigeria Commodity Exchange that Mr. President just came up, formed. So I met with the MD, and we were even discussing about the silo, and that is why I want to form all these youth into clusters. We have identified maize production. Maize. Of course, we cannot even meet up with the demand. So we are trying to identify the market, ready-made market. It's not just when you say, okay, we want to farm in 500 hectares of land, it is the Lagbados along the road that will be, no. So the market is what we are working towards.
All right, Oluleye Akinola, before we close this conversation, beyond the English and the grammar we speak most often, what an average Nigerian wants to see is the impact of policies of government on their day-to-day life and living. I'd like to know, when will the people of Ondo State feel the impact of the current administration which says it runs on our ease mandate. When will the people feel the ease, especially in food production, availability of food to them at very affordable prices? When will the people feel the import of these policies?
Yeah. Uh, like I said, very soon.
How
Very
soon?
how soon? Yeah.
You keep
Of
saying
course,
very soon. I keep asking
yeah.
you, how soon?
How soon? You know, there is a time to plan, there is a time to water, and there is a time to harvest.
Honorable Commissioner, there is something we also call short-term plan.
Yeah,
and
the short
long-term
time
plans.
I've just mentioned to you maize. I about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had series of meeting with rice farmers. Let me gladden your heart that we produce rice en masse in Ondo State.
So why are we not buying at lower cost
Yeah,
compared to other states?
in fact, there is a rice milling factory that I invited to my office. I also invited Wema Bank to my office and invited the rice farmers to my office. We're looking at this way to create a synergy on how to. But if we continue to do it the way it was being done before, of course, it is still the same result we are getting. You understand? So rice that can be cultivated 2 times, 3 times, maize that can be cultivated 2 times, 3 times, and let me also gladden your heart and gladden the heart of the people of Ondo State. Mr. Governor has said that my ministry and water resource ministry must work hand in hand, and we are working on irrigation system too to be introduced so that we can do all-round farming. So this requires that we move with the pace that the Federal Ministry of Water Resources and so there is a program we are working on with the Federal Ministry of Agri. But if, which I know other states have been benefiting, so we are plugged in.
Can you assure the people of Ondo State looking at you now to be able to really know that very soon, because if you are talking about partnership with Ministry of Water Resources, for instance, that solves the problem of dry season versus rainy season. And so crops like tomato, pepper, some other crops like that, even maize and rice and so on and so forth, should be something that will be readily available to them. What assurance are you giving to the people that you are saying very soon, but in the year we are going into, that these implementations will come to play?
Of course, this implement. Of course, before rainy season, we must have seen the impact of what we are doing. You know, I came aboard in July, which is not planting season, which is so we turn it into planning season. So after the planning, of course, the next thing is to go into the execution.
How do you intend to implement this when you feel that, yes, government has no business in doing business? But I give you an instance. Lagos State government, when it saw that it did not have enough land to do this agriculture, partnered with Kebbi State and produced so many plantations of rice. You know the story. When will Ondo State government also take the bold step to go into commercial farming, maybe not just for profit making, but to ease the life of the people under the Awai's agenda?
Yeah, thank you so much. Our agenda is to create an enabling environment for all the farmers.
Okay.
Encourage investors to all the farmers. I forgot to tell you this. There is a company that is also coming to establish in large scale, that is Mojek. Where through the help of the state government under Freelia, we are going to be acquire. Is a private business.
Okay.
Going to be acquiring about 26,000 hectares of land in Ose local government. Of course, I just finished discussing with their rep, and by Saturday this week, they are going to be coming, because we need to go to the community because of the age of the people, the owners of the land. So we are facilitating this to bring investors. So investors are coming to Ondo State. But apart from that, what about our people that are willing and ready to practice farming? We are making, of course, availability to land is the major challenge of our youth. So we are working on this.
Okay.
We are assiduously working on this. I've I've spoken with the chairman, I've spoken with the Obas and the Bales.
The
So,
people of Ondo State do not forgive me if I do not go into this area.
okay.
It's one thing to be interested in agriculture. It's another thing for me as a farmer to be assured of protection of my farms. What steps are you taking as a government to ensure that there is adequate protection for farmers on their farm? The people of Ala Forest area, they're not finding it funny lately. What steps is government taking to address this problem?
Yeah, thank you so much. This area you mentioned happens to be my own area, where my father, my mother. So I'm from Igbato. So I know what is happening. Even before I became the commissioner, when they were agitated, when these S-men were dealing with them, of course, Mr. Governor invited me, invited the councillor of the ward, and we were able to give him the first-hand information, and the government sprung into action, and of course there is a station of Amoteku in that area as we speak, and we were able to flush all those people away. But of course it's like they receded, but now they are coming back. But about a week ago I was still with the chief security, I mean the SSA of security matter, and the last killing there, some arrests have been made. Some arrests have been made. Of course, they even saw one guy that was in army uniform. So they are. This last killing wasn't S-men. It was masterminded by the.
So what steps are you taking to up the ante of providing security for farmers? Because for me, protection for farmers would also translate into food security.
Yeah. Well, of course, like I said, so Ondo State is up and doing. The security, architecture, they are up and doing. So immediately they got that information. A day after, some arrests were made. Of course, there's relative peace around the place as I speak to you. And we are also working in tandem with the National Forest guards that the federal government. So I have met with the commandant in the states, and we have also had some meetings with the SSA security. So we are working around the clock. And when it comes to security steps and whatever, it's not what
I agree with you.
to be.
In 30 seconds, sorry, Commissioner, will the Aida administration be interested in buyback policy from farmers who produce in large quantity?
Of course. But like I told you, the buying back policy, let's first of all even produce what is enough.
All right.
You understand? For us. And like I told you, before we even start the production, we are already providing a market.
All right. I thank you very much, the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture and Forestry in Ondo State, Honorable Leah Akiola. Thank you for sharing the thoughts of the administration with us on agriculture. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, we say a big thank you to you for being a part of this conversation. Of course, let the conversation continue by sending us feedbacks on all our social media platforms. We thank you for being a part of it. I'm Sunday Kolawole. The Outlook returns next week, God willing. Enjoy the rest of the evening.